cyber threats got you spooked? Don't sweat it, because Endpoint Pulse is here to show you how the good guys win. I'm Shad, your host for today. This time, we are teaming up with Kris, a cyber consultant wizard. He's seen it all, from ransomware rampages to data breaches the size of Texas. But guess what? He's got the ultimate cheat code in his hands. ManageEngine's Endpoint Central. So tune in, sharpen your cyber senses, and learn how Kris turns the tables on digital villains. Welcome to our podcast, Kris. Can you please introduce yourself to our listeners and tell us a bit about your partnership with ManageEngine's UEM suite of products?
Thank you, Shadrach. Hi, audience. This is Kris. Been in the IT industry for about 20 plus years, I would say, and helping out our customers across. And in Auckland, a beautiful country, New Zealand, working with all New Zealand, Australia, and New Zealand business across mid or small, medium, or enterprise or central or local government organization, and helping them to strengthen their security posture with endpoint management and security aspects. And that's pretty much me consulting and helping the customers.
Welcome aboard, Kris. Thank you for accepting our invitation and hopping in on Endpoint Pulse. So to begin with, how's your experience with ManageEngine's UEMS suite of products? And what do you think sets it apart in the cybersecurity landscape?
Yeah, sure thing. So the journey started, I reckon, in 2018 when I'm associated. So that's when I focus a lot with our ManageEngine solutions from solution consulting perspective, and was able to assist based on our customers' need and requirement in strengthening their endpoint security posture pretty much. There are a lot of challenges with the patching, how to enable, how to enhance their efficiency and effectiveness with respect to their patching and making sure their endpoints are safeguarded and secured with known vulnerabilities across. So that's how it gets started with endpoint management, unified endpoint management solutions. ManageEngine solutions are designed specifically for our customers. There are so many other solutions available, but there is a huge gap in terms of the third-party applications, patching, and elements. And, we all know that a lot of customers have their Office 365, their, licenses across, and a lot of adoption into their cloud journey, where a ManageEngine solution can help us working alongside with whatever the solutions that you have. So a lot of customers can be a Microsoft platform infrastructure, or they might have a Linux infrastructure, or they might have a Mac infrastructure, or it could be a mixed infrastructure in most cases, where our solution can be applied across multi-platform, and it's pretty much vendor neutral. So no matter what endpoints that you have, whether it's, it could be any endpoints, it could be a mobile phone, or it could be a Surface Books, or it could be even your TV OS devices, or Chrome OS tablets, or any endpoints, even the servers that you have in your organization can be all properly managed using our application with the configuration update. So it's going to be tedious in understanding how many group policies or the scripts, PowerShell scripts are that running in our organization that's taking care of few aspects of configurations. How about our solution can supply those sort of configuration updates across all your, Windows-based configuration updates, or Linux or Mac-based configuration updates can be done from a single console, and that can be applied for a user profile or a computer profile. Plus, you can apply restrictions to the user's computers and mobile devices. So we apply that role-based access control. So we apply the appropriate privileges to the administrators and technician, and also the users to have appropriate controls in their endpoints. And the main part is about, patching. Patching is the biggest challenge for a lot of organizations when it comes to the native Windows. To a certain degree, yes, they are keeping the patches up to date. But what about the third-party applications, your staff that's getting downloaded and installed? And that is prone to attack. And even the browsers are a primary point of, attack. So we need to safeguard all the endpoint, elements across. So that's where our tool has an ability to patch any sort of native Windows or third-party applications at the convenience of the customer security policies. And the software deployment made it easier as well. And the maintenance windows can be configured based on the business internal security policies. And software applications or the packages can be deployed based on users' computer profile and follow through a similar deployment windows. Then the main aspects of our Cert NZ or Essential H or even CIS controls or any other security compliance, the first and foremost visibility or transparency that we need to have is on hardware and software compliance, inventory management of our assets. And we should know what we have and how it's inventoried, how it's managed. So that's where our solution comes very handy to understand what sort of hardware changes are made or any software install, uninstall, even certificate expiry can be updated. And the patching I've already updated. It's not just patching of your devices. It's about understanding the threats, 0-day vulnerabilities. All machines are healthy, or is there any security patches that's available? Automatic patching rollouts that makes it much more easier. Plus, it also understands your environment vulnerabilities. It could be a security misconfigurations or some sort of vulnerable ports can be easily identified by our tool, and we can mitigate that particular security risk by updating an appropriate configuration changes or a patch if it's available that can be updated. Even if there is no patch available, if it's on a manual resolution, it is not a big headache for an engineer to go and dig and find out what is the resolution and how that needs to be mitigated. So the tool has an ability with a database table where it provides a good guidance for an engineer to even manually resolve certain vulnerabilities where there's no resolution updated from the vendor. And software metering or the software license management makes it easier. Think about an audit from Microsoft that, hey, we would like to audit and please fill in this 50 pages documentation. It's a nightmare for any IT administrator. Whereas the software license management with a tool makes it much more easier and understand about the compliance and detect any sort of unauthorized software usage, etc. And the important element apart from that is about advanced system tools, advanced remote control options, and managing your endpoints much more easier sitting at the office in a current new normal scenarios where a lot of staff are working from home or working from different locations. So it's more or less kind of a virtual office for most of the people. And most of the devices are outside the trusted network, and that needs to be managed more efficiently, and all should be patched on time to make sure those machines are not prone to attack by the attackers. So those are prone to security risks. So that particular challenge can be easily solved with our endpoint management and security solutions. Plus, the important aspects is about the other security elements where I was talking about something similar to threats and patches where vulnerability assessment and 0-day vulnerabilities are taken care, plus the application control. So software packages are updated, well and fine. What about application control that we can apply or privileged application access that we can provide? It's going to be a Herculean task if customer has multiple siloed tools. Our tool will make it easier for the customer as well. Say, scanning all the softwares and whitelisting and blacklisting and graylisting the applications and creating a policy to make sure that, the application privileges or access are governed and managed by the tool. Plus, the device control where USB device management, who can access, what can be accessed and how it can be accessed. That plays a crucial part in data loss prevention as well. So data protection can be handled by a tool in somebody is trying to move files around or move any sort of confidential data from one location to a different, removable storage that can be controlled with a device control. Plus, the browser security part of our solution provides enormous value in managing the browser plugins, browser add-ons, and the situation becomes more critical when a user using more than a single browser. When we have, and by default, any machine that we have will have at least 2 or 3 browsers in a endpoint. So it's easier to manage all those plugins and vulnerable, plugin attacks or any sort of browser-based vulnerabilities can be handled and mitigated with R2. Plus, um, we covered the aspects of our solution functionalities. I would say the BitLocker is another key element. So the BitLocker encryption for mostly on the Windows devices. So that keys can be handled and managed very well with that too. And the last but not the least, the data loss prevention module provides a lot more ability, and the ransomware protection is also introduced by our solutions team. So that should be available as part of our endpoint management and security bundle. Hope that explains, Shadrach.
Thank you for sharing your experience with our listeners, Kris. We've heard all about how Endpoint Central shines, but can you give us a real life use case to back it up? And what, according to you, makes Endpoint Central the perfect tool for the job?
I have not just one, it's multiple, but I would like to share at least two implementation journeys and how we were able to assist the clients. So there was a request from one of our government organization that it's during the Windows 10 rollout time. So a lot of customers still on old operating system, and they wanted to make sure that Windows 7 to Windows 10 rollout needs to happen seamlessly. So there was a big challenge for them. So that's when they reached out to us and they said, hey, it's kind of a deadline for them. They wanted to manage it across, and that's about close to 500 to 1,500 machines, I guess. They need to get it all done in a shorter time. And they have a mixed environment, not just HP's predominant, but they also have Dell, they have Lenovo machines. They also have the Microsoft Surface Books. They have a bit of Linux devices and other workstations as well. So, but majority is on the Windows stuff, Windows 7 to Windows 10, getting moved over and taking care of the profile backups and as such. So they are, utilizing the existing solution, but that is not working well for them. That's when they reached out to us, and they are one of our existing, endpoint management customers. So we went and we assisted with the OS deployment, created a golden image, and making sure all the important critical apps are deployed during that particular process. The profile backup was introduced, I guess, at that point of time. That was very helpful for the customer. So that journey was really good, so that they were able to get that migration from Windows 7 to Windows 10 easier with that particular element. Plus, there was one situation, it's funny, where one of our customer was trialing our mobile device management solution. So they pretty much, wanted to test it out for their, not just the laptops, tablets, and other devices, mobile devices. So mostly the devices are on the field, and they wanted to monitor and manage how the devices are handled by their staff who are on the roads or on the ground. So they were evaluating the solution, and it was unfortunate for them. They lost a critical device from one of their key stakeholder of the organization, and luckily that device was part of the testing evaluation process. And based on the configuration that we had, they were able to lock the particular device down and track based on the geolocation tracking. And it's almost like 50 feet, 50 meters in a closed, location. They were able to spot it out, and we were able to lock that particular machine down first and foremost, because that has a lot of corporate confidential data in that. So we were able to lock that machine down, and data is so critical and important to the business. So that machine, though it's lost, we were able to track and find it out and share all those insights to the local, police forces, so that they will be able to track and find it out. So it was very handy and helpful. Customer was very pleased for the solution evaluation, and eventually, it was a quick evaluation for them in real time, and they purchased the solution. And one more aspects of this is on the application control. It's quite common requirement for any security frameworks. Say if it's going to be Essential 8 or CIS controls, or even part of ISO 27001 or New Zealand Cert NZ controls, where application control is one of the key element of it, along with hardware and software asset management. So we need to know how many applications we have and how the applications are accessed and utilized. So there are other tools in the market, but the way our tool helped us easily, based on the asset scan, the endpoint scan, all the software that's installed in the machines are inventoried, and we were able to easily classify them to a whitelisted applications or a blacklisted applications, or identify what is being gray listed just for audit purposes, to understand the behavior of an application usage in the organization. Then the feature that came in that was more handy was application privilege elevation, that helps for an administrator to enable that application privilege on demand using an application control features. So that was pretty cool stuff, and quite hot is in terms of the vulnerability management aspects of the solution, more focused towards endpoint security. So it's not just patching our native Windows, Macs, and Linux endpoints, it's also the networking devices. So the vulnerability management aspects of our solution not just patches a regular Windows, but when a customer has a vulnerability manager solution standalone, then they can also patch their network devices, because understanding the network vulnerabilities is a bit critical, not just monitoring. We have an ability to manage with the other tools integrated with our tool as well. But even the network devices firmwares, it could be a switch, access switch, or a core switch, firmwares can be updated and patched using our vulnerability management. And last but not the least, the other important aspect is on the ransomware protection. There's a lot of conversations going on, but that's something available within our tool sets on one-click recovery options. So hope this would be these situations would be more than adequate, Shadrach. If you don't mind, I can also share about the data protection officer, because that one is kind of hard to notice, but customer was able to find out some sort of an executive summary on how their data has been protected in their environment. Our DPO summary was much more precise, very clear, and that made the IT security CIO, it's part of the CX level users, the stakeholder, it made his job much more easier. So based on his organization security requirements, the DPO summary report provides exactly what he is after. So that was one good, real-time use case.
I hope our listeners could relate to the real life use cases you provided. Now that you have shared how fantastic Endpoint Central is, let's get real for a second. Did you come across any bumps on the road while setting it up? And let us know if you had to tackle any hurdles during the implementation.
Each and every implementation is totally a new challenge, right? Because customers' environment, our implementation depends on the customer's ecosystem environment, the way their network has been designed or the infrastructure has been designed and deployed. So each and every implementation that comes comes with its own challenges, I would say. The first and foremost thing, we start with baby steps. So make sure that the prerequisites are taken care. I reckon most of the errors could happen on those areas, because sometimes the port will be blocked, or they have some sort of internal firewall that's blocking any such traffics. So the first and foremost thing is to make sure the system requirements and the system prerequisites are taken care of first, and ensure that has been validated and vetted even during the proof of concept area. And once that is done, then implementation becomes smoother. And next, the challenge would arise in terms of the designing part of it. So, customers, uh, you know, requirement might be totally different in terms of defining the remote offices, or either to use a distributed architecture with a distributed remote offices, or with the direct connections. Nowadays, I could see a lot of customers not worried about the internet bandwidth, though we have a bit of quality of service that is available on the network level. But even from our tool, we can update the policy that the transfer rate on the endpoint agent to the distribution server or to the main application server are handled with appropriate speed limits. So we have an ability to control to a certain degree. So that designing is a bit of challenge as well, to align with customers' business, design, like how they are located, how many branch offices they have, what sort of connectivity they have in each and every location, and how many devices needs to be managed in each and every location. So once we have the clear understanding of the network diagram, network design, then we recommend the appropriate structure that would be best fit and ideal for the customer's utilization to deploy the solution. And then the other critical challenge comes in terms of the patch rings, the maintenance windows customer need to handle it. It's not the same because I reckon I've been working with a lot of customers out here in Australia and New Zealand. They have their own maintenance windows, maintenance rings, patch rings, and some customers do it based on system resource criticality. Some customers do it based on the internal business departments. Some customers do it based on a specific static or a dynamic group that they design it for them to manage that particular device, patch rings or the maintenance windows. So we have the deployment policy that is flexible, and we have an ability to modify or align it and then get that deployed as well. And the other important aspect is about the deployment procedures, right? So generally what people does or the systems administrator main job is to make sure that all the devices are patched up to date after doing a meticulous testing in the test environment. And it's going to be a cumbersome process for them to manually vet it all. But the suggestion that we would provide is kind of a test group, pick and select a low technical impact or a business impact users from each and every department, have them added as part of a particular group, and they can be used for test and give at least 6-7 days time or about a week based on your internal security patching policies. Give them appropriate time, and after that we can very well leverage the automatic deployment policies tasks, the deployment activities, or to get the automatic patch gets updated to all those particular groups accordingly. So this makes an engineer's time spent is more efficient, more effective, and they focus more on ensuring the protection of their users are taken care, or the user requirements are taken care in terms of their core business. That's where our tool, provides the value proposition for our customers.
You made cybersecurity feel conquerable today, Kris. Your passion and your expertise are truly inspiring. Now, for those aspiring heroes who tuned in, who want to join the fight against digital threats, do you have any battle-tested advice that you can share? Also, what should they focus on to make a real difference in this ever-evolving landscape?
We go. I mean, it's a game, right? So the hackers are already ahead of our game, and it's about 0-day protection, right? So, and zero trust. Don't trust anyone. Don't trust anything. Now, have your own security, forte, tightly controlled, right? So that's a kind of approach. It's a kind of a framework that we need to adopt to zero trust policies, and making sure that we have good visibility across, and we need to be step ahead of the game, right? So validating a multiple attempt is also an important concern. So I would say start with multi-factor authentication, or just a password, and it's easy to guess the password. So start with a multi-factor authentication, validated as something critical being followed worldwide. And the second aspects of it is to have a visibility across all our assets, right? So we need to know what we have in the organization so that we can protect it. If we don't know what we have, we can't protect it. So we should have a clear inventory of all our, IT assets or non-IT assets, and make sure that those are, handled accordingly, and then it's protected. And then becomes the user. So continuous user training is very, very, very important, no matter how secure your system is. I used to see a meme where a person and CISO were completely shielded with all protection and everything. Still, you want to see. So there was a bit of gap in his eye, and an archer just put the arrow in his eye. So that is how it is. So no matter how, what sort of stringent protection policies that we have, it's the user awareness and user training that protects the organization. So all users needs to be made aware of all this security policies, and a regular training for the users to protect themselves from any such attacks or any such scams is very, very important. And that's what I would suggest for us to focus on. And again, we got to start with the key important aspects that we need to protect our organization assets. That includes people as well.
Kris, we appreciate you generously imparting your wisdom and cybersecurity knowledge with us.
Thank you, Shadrach. Much appreciated.
And that's a wrap on episode 2 of the Endpoint Pulse Partner Edition. But this is just the beginning of a cybersecurity adventure for you. This is Shad signing off until next time. Stay tuned, stay fortified.